So now I'll be talking some different modes. Believe me, they are not too advanced or not too new modes, but name is like this. So why we require separate modes from pressure and control, different modes. So less likelihood of ventilator associated lung injury, less hemodynamic compromise, more effectively ventilate or oxygenate the patient, less need of sedation and paralysis. It improves patient ventilator synchrony and more rapid weaning. So these are the parameter of any ideal ventilation. So to quest of ideal ventilation, every company has modified some software and produced some different modes. These are the list of different modes. It is like a long list, and there are so many modes which are not covered by me. So it is a pressure regulated volume control, volume support, auto flow, automatic tube compensation, proportional assist ventilation or proportional pressure support, adaptive support ventilation, volume assured pressure support, active exhalation, auto mode, and neurally adjusted ventilatory support. And so on, the list is ongoing. So apart from these modes, I would like to cover few basic things as well. Bi-level. We all know there is a bi-level and BiPAP. Many times there is a confusion between bi-level mode and the BiPAP mode. BiPAP is a trademark for non-invasive ventilation where you set a EPAP and IPAP. Whereas in bi-level, you set a PEEP and pressure support. So the basic difference is here pressure support is above the PEEP. Whereas in bi-level, the IPAP is including the EPAP and pressure support. So PEEP and pressure support is included. So for example, if I am setting BiPAP, say for example EPAP of 5 or IPAP of 10, if I had to set this on ventilator, it will become PEEP of 5 and pressure support of 5, because here my pressure support starts from above PEEP, whereas in bi-level it starts from the 0. So it is clear. Many times this can be asked in the exam. So as you can see in CPAP, what is happening, there is only a single pressure or throughout the respiratory cycle, whether it's inspiration or expiration, and patient is allowed to take breath here. In pressure control, what happens, you put a two pressure levels, and ventilator determines the duration and the time and the this thing, how much tidal volume is being delivered. But here the patient is not allowed to take breath in between here and in between here. If patient triggers here, the next breath will be generated. So what is happening here in bi-level, again this is a misnomer BiPAP. What is happening in the bi-level is we set a T high and a T low, P high and a P low, and patient is allowed to breathe at all the levels. So there are two levels of CPAP on which patient is breathing. You can control the duration of T high and the height of like this P high. And if patient is not breathing at all, it automatically becomes a pressure control ventilation type of picture. So if you put your patient on the one mode, it automatically, when he or she starts taking breaths, it automatically moves from control mode to spontaneous mode. What is this P high is doing? It improves the oxygenation, promotes alveolar recruitment. P low allows exhalation, maintains recruitment, and there is an unrestricted spontaneous activity. So at either level of either pressure level, patient can breathe spontaneously. Spontaneous breath can be supported by pressure support as well. So you can allow some pressure support here also. So these, if you just go through with this diagram in PCV, you compare with this. This is the FRC inspiration, this is the FRC expiration. So difference between this or the area between these curves, they determine the tidal volume. Next mode is little bit modification of bi-level is APRV. As the name suggests, it is a, what is this? Airway pressure release ventilation. So you ventilate your patient on a high pressure, and in between you just release the airway pressure. Why we want to release? So that CO2 can be expelled out. So it protects the lung ventilation strategy in ALI and ARDS. Oxygenation and recruitment is done by the high pressure. It is a bi-level form of ventilation with sudden short release in the pressure to rapidly reduce the FRC and allow for ventilation or CO2 removal. It can work in spontaneous or apneic patient both. As you can see, in a spontaneous breathing patient, the spontaneous breath is allowed here. This is the P low, P high, P low. This is the T high and T low. As you can see, the T low is very small here. So yesterday we discussed about the open lung concept, and as you can see, this is a zone of de-recruitment, zone of over distension, so we have to ventilate here in safe window, and that's how APRV works. APRV is similar to bilevel but utilizes a very short expiratory time, that is called pressure release. This short time at low pressure allows for CO2 removal, we already discussed. It always implies an inverse ratio ventilation. So inspiratory time is quite high because it's a long, and expiratory time is very low because it's a very brief release. All spontaneous breathing is done at the upper pressure only because this release is so small that no patient can have a spontaneously breathing in this phase. So inspiratory pressure is set between 20 to 30 centimeter of water. How you set it? Look at your patient when you are planning to go on APRV. What is the plateau pressure of the patient? If plateau pressure is 25, I'll set a P high at 25, similar. Expiratory pressure is set between 0 to 2 or 3 centimeter. We don't give PEEP here because we avoid de-recruitment by creating a auto PEEP, iatrogenic auto PEEP we create here. Inspiratory time is set between 3 to 5 seconds and expiratory time is set between 0.5 to 1 second. So just imagine if it is a 5, so automatically the I ratio becomes 4:1 to 10:1. If you put a larger expiratory time, longer expiratory time, then de-recruitment can happen. So this is how we set the APRV. Patient is allowed to breathe here, spontaneously breathing, and that's how we maintain a good mean airway pressure. So as you can see, P high is around 30, mean airway pressure is around 25. So at 25 mean airway pressure, good oxygenation takes place. This is the flow dynamics of the APRV. As you can see, this is the peak inspiratory flow gas, and then there are certain inspiratory breaths. Why this flow is coming down? Because chest is already inflated, so flow is less. Now flow becomes static, and as you can see here, we don't allow this expiratory flow to go to the zero, because if it goes to the zero, then there will be a de-recruitment. So T low terminates at around 40% of the peak expiratory flow. So this termination, premature termination of expiration, causes the generation of auto PEEP, and that keeps the recruitment in place. Certain advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantage and risk is variable tidal volume, can harmful in the patient of COPD. Auto PEEP is usually present, so it is harmful for COPD. Caution with the hemodynamically unstable patient. Asynchrony can occur in spontaneous breath are not synced with the time, and requires the presence of active exhalation valve. Why? Because you are trying to maintain a high PEEP or high pressure and allowing patient to have breathing there as well. Advantages: it allows inverse ratio ventilation. Spontaneous breathing is allowed, so requirement of less sedation and paralysis is there. Improves patient ventilator synchrony. If spontaneous breathing is present, improves mean airway pressure, so improves oxygenation, and allow patient to breathe spontaneously while continuing with the lung recruitment. Lower peak inspiratory pressure and may decrease physiological dependence on the ventilator. Coming to another entity, dual modes. What we mean by dual modes? Where we combine the advantages of volume control as well as the pressure control. So what are the advantages of volume control? We can control the volume, we can deliver the set tidal volume. And what are the advantages of pressure control mode? Pardon? So mainly it is a deceleration type of inspiratory flow, which is helpful in the pressure control mode. Of course, it decreases the barotrauma. They are not so recently developed modes. They are in the market for last maybe more than 15 years or so, maybe 20 years. Allow the ventilator to control volume and pressure based on the volume feedback. There are two types of things can happen when within a single breath changes are occurring. That is called a volume assured pressure support, and switch between two breaths. So is volume support, PRVC, APV, and auto flow. Why there are so many names? Because each company want to get a patent for their technology. So another company changes little bit in the software and comes with a new name and new patent. So volume assured pressure support combines the high variable flow of a pressure limited breath with a constant volume delivery of a volume limited breath. So in volume limited breath, we give a constant volume delivery, and in a pressure limited breath, there is a high variable flow. Breaths are initiated by patient or could be a time triggered during pressure support. Volume assured pressure support is a safety net that applies minimum tidal volume. Once breath is triggered, ventilator will attempt to reach pressure support setting as quickly as possible. So it will give a maximal inspiratory flow. This portion of the breath is a pressure control portion and associated with a rapid variable flow. And this rapid variable flow can decrease work of breathing in such patients, because the moment patient starts taking inspiration, flow is given to him. This is how it works. As you can see here, this is the volume assured pressure support. This is the pressure waveform. This is the volume waveform. And this is the flow waveform. So this is the set tidal volume. If it is matching, it is okay. Ventilator microprocessor calculates the tidal volume with the flow dynamics. With this flow dynamics, it calculates the tidal volume. With this flow dynamics, this is the flow. So it calculates the delivery of tidal volume. Once ventilator calculates that the tidal volume delivery will not be appropriate as the set tidal volume, it automatically increases the pressure limit. So now the pressure limit is overrides to maintain the tidal volume. So pressure is variable in this, but it is happening with each breath. As you can see here, there are three set of pictures where the tidal delivery is equal to set tidal volume, nothing great. It is a pressure support level, peak flow setting is there. Where the tidal delivery is less than the set tidal volume. What is happening here? As you can see here, the pressure support level is increased, or there is a still, if it is not met, then ventilator tries to increase the inspiratory time as well to give a desired tidal volume delivery. Where the tidal volume delivery is high, ventilator thinks that it is already higher than the patient requirement or patient effort is there, then ventilator tries to give less flow. So as you can see here, ventilator tries to manage the delivered tidal volume with the given the set tidal volume in both the ways. If it is less or high, it tries to the microprocessor tries to control by changing the flow or increasing the pressure limit or inspiratory time. So two variables are changing: pressure support level and inspiratory time, both. PRVC is in Mackay and many other ventilators. It's a pressure regulated volume control. Again, I would say this is a misnomer. Technically, they are the volume pressure control breaths. Why they have given this name, pressure regulated volume control? Because the first breath is given as a volume control breath. So ventilator gives a test breath to patient to assess at set tidal volume how much plateau pressure is being generated. So if you have set a tidal volume delivery of say 300 ml, then ventilator will give a volume control breath of 300 ml and it will measure the plateau pressure. So for example, plateau pressure comes out to be 10 or 12, or 10 is too less, maybe 20. So then in next breath, ventilator will give a pressure support breath of a 20 pressure. So it will take a reference of pressure support level with the this plateau pressure. So it is a assist control ventilation, pressure control titrated to a set tidal volume. Ventilator estimates the pressure and volume relationship of each breath, and ventilator adjusts level of the pressure control in next breath, not in the same breath. So breaths can be ventilator initiated, patient initiated, can be set minimum frequency. So as you can see here, I have deliberately not kept that pressure control, this volume breath first test breath. So what is happening? As you can see, ventilator measures this. It feels that it is a tidal volume delivery is the less than set tidal volume. So in the next breath, ventilator increases the pressure support level and so on till the set tidal volume delivery is met, or it reaches the upper limit of the pressure, whatever you have set the alarm limit. So it is like this: test breath is given, measure tidal volume compared with the set tidal volume, and increase or decrease inspiratory pressure in successive breaths. Advantage: it is a decelerating inspiratory flow pattern. Pressure automatically adjusts for changes in the compliance and resistance within a set range. So tidal volume is guaranteed, less barotrauma, and prevents hypoventilation. Maintains the minimum peak airway pressure that provides the constant tidal volume. Automatic weaning of the pressure as patient improves. So gradually, when the compliance improves, patient starts taking the good tidal volume with the same pressure. Gradually the pressure limit automatically goes down. Certain disadvantages are there. Pressure delivered is dependent on the tidal volume achieved in the last breath. So if patient is having intermittent pressure effort, then there will be a variable tidal volume, and at here one can have a asynchrony. This is less suitable for patient with asthma or COPD, because in those patients the tidal volume varies from breath to breath depending on the resistance pattern of the lung. So as you can see here, if the variable breath is there, this is the set tidal volume, next breath is too high, so ventilator tries to minimize it and it can go below the set tidal volume. So in variable respiration effort, it is not working. Auto mode, again a Mackay thing. It is designed to allow ventilator, as the name suggests, one you can shift from control mode to spontaneous assist mode and spontaneously breathing mode. So it is a breath by breath adjustment. From volume control, ventilator can go to the volume support, from PRVC to volume support, and pressure control to pressure support. This is done by the ventilator when ventilator senses that patient is having good spontaneous activity. So it overcomes the resistance to flow created by an endotracheal. Another entity is automatic tube compensation. This is not a separate mode per se. It is a switch. You have to switch on it or off it. So it overcomes, as you know, the endotracheal tube or tracheostomy tube, whichever is there, it has got certain resistance inherent to that. And we are not measuring the pressure at the tip of the carina or at the end of the carina. We are measuring all the pressures, airway pressure at the ventilator end. So we are not considering the resistance of tube or endotracheal or tracheostomy tube. So what it do? It overcomes the resistance to flow created by endotracheal tube or tracheostomy tube, gives the patient the sensation that they are not intubated because that resistance is overcome, patient is getting good delivery. Most important, during spontaneously breath, may provide a calculated tracheal pressure curve on the graph display, and this can be used to train the respiratory muscles that now the weaning has started. So how it do that? You set a tube size or endotracheal tube or tracheostomy tube, its size, a ventilator automatically calculates for that given flow what will be the resistance of the tube, because you are giving the size and computer knows the length of the tracheostomy tube or the endotracheal tube. So what it will do, it will add some additional pressure to overcome that resistance. So when you are giving us, say for example, pressure support of 10, ventilator will try to give maybe 12, 13 depending on the calculation done by the ventilator, depending on the size and the type of tube. So it will apply a little high pressure, and in expiration what it will do, it will go below PEEP. So it will apply lower pressure than the PEEP just to facilitate the expiration. So it adds additional pressure. We can consider using in patients who have high inspiratory flow requirements. Setting I have already discussed. Another entity is adaptive support ventilation. It is a very versatile mode on the minimal work of breathing concept. It is proprietary of Hamilton ventilators. Electronic ventilator management protocol that may improve the safety and efficacy of mechanical ventilation. Automatic adaptation of the ventilator setting to patient's passive and active respiratory mechanics is there. Variables are measured on a breath-to-breath basis and altered by the ventilator algorithm to meet desired target. So it is purely a microprocessor based ventilator where microprocessor is controlling many things. It is initially designed to reduce episode of central apnea in CHF patients, improvement in the sleep quality in those patients, and decrease daytime sleepiness. So OSA patients, it was started, can be used for patients who are at risk for central apnea and like those with a brain damage. Improved patient ventilator interaction is there, decreased use of sedation, and helpful mode of weaning is. If patient breathes spontaneously, ventilator will pressure support the breath. Spontaneous and mandatory breath can be combined to meet minute ventilation. So you set a target of minute ventilation, for example 8 liters or 9 liters, patient is taking some breath, ventilator will calculate how much out of that 9 liter or 8 liter patient is taking, and rest is supported by the ventilator. It reduces a dead space ventilation, avoids auto PEEP, discourages rapid shallow breathing, and mirror changing patient's activity. Next entity is autoflow. It is a propriety of Draeger. Again, it is not a separate mode. You got a switch where you just switch on the autoflow in the volume control mode. So it will combine the volume control and the pressure control mode both. Peak pressure is less with spontaneous decelerating flow. As you can see, this is a volume control breath. This is the moment you switch on the autoflow, it comes the decelerating type of flow, which is a characteristic of a pressure control breath. So ventilator automatically regulates the inspiratory flow as to deliver set tidal volume as per lung compliance. So up to this part, it is similar to the PRVC, but certainly it has got certain difference with the PRVC. As you can see here, it is till now it is almost similar to the PRVC. But what is the difference? Here in PRVC, the spontaneous breathing is not allowed when the breath is going on. Patient can take breath. When one breath is ending, then patient can trigger. But here the spontaneous breathing is allowed throughout the cycle. So as you can see, this is one breath. Patient want to take breathing here. Patient is allowed to take some spontaneous breath here as well and here as well. So this is the basic difference from a pressure PRVC. So what they have done, they have combined the bilevel with the PRVC, something like that. Again, everybody feels how they can have more better patient experience and can give delivery with less work of breathing. So there is no asynchrony with variable patient effort. That was the biggest challenge in PRVC, that if patient is having variable breathing, that time it was not okay. But here they have taken out that problem. So as you can see in autoflow, this is the sat PEEP, this is the inspiratory pressure. Patient is allowed to breathe here and here anywhere. So it can be used in all volume oriented breaths, tidal volume guaranteed while keeping lowest peak pressure, and allows spontaneously breathing, allows inverse ratio ventilation with awake and spontaneously breathing patient, better ventilator patient synchrony, less need of sedation and paralysis. Next entity is proportional assist ventilation. Different company has given different name to it. PAV is one. Then they have come up with a PAV plus. Another company calls it the proportional assist, the partial pressure support. So pressure support varies with the inspiratory effort. If patient is demanding more, ventilator will give more. What happens in many ventilators, if you put patient on pressure support, suddenly patient's metabolic demands goes high, either with fever or any other thing. Patient start taking, or pain, patient start taking deep breath. Then you find many times that ventilator is not delivering up to the mark. So now here the pressure support varies with the inspiratory effort. Muscular effort and airway pressure resistance are better matched for proportional assist than the pressure support. PAV acts as an auxiliary muscle whose strength is regulated by proportionally constant determined by the clinician. At present, PAV cannot account for auto PEEP, and there is a small chance of inappropriate support if applied during the patients who are having auto PEEP. So as you can see, this is the muscular pressure. Patient's demand is there. Patient is demanding more, high effort, patient effort is there. Ventilator is giving more pressure support proportional to patient's demand, and by using the high flow. So at any moment of time, there is no air hunger to the patient. It attempts to regulate the pressure output of the ventilator movement by movement as per the patient's demand for flow and volume. When the patient wants more, gets more, want less, get less. To regulate pressure, PAV uses the monitored flow and calculates assessment of the mechanical properties of the respiratory system as input of patient comfort. So advantages are patient comfort, patient needs are nearly completely met, no hyperventilation, less sedation, low airway pressure, hypercapnic respiratory failure in COPD, we can use it. It improves synchrony by way of neural and mechanical inflation time, between neural and mechanical inflation time. So neuroventilatory coupling is there and increases the sleep efficiency. Certain disadvantages are there. Spontaneously breathing is essential for this process. No minimal support. So here there is no minimal support. So if suddenly patient goes into the apnea, you have to set the backup of apnea. Otherwise patient starts hypoventilating, ventilator will sit easily. Allow patient to hypoventilate. That is one challenge. Setting requires the knowledge of resistance and compliance. Instability possible if settings are incorrect, and tube leakage may impair function, because tube leakage will give message to ventilator that patient is demanding more and more and more. Because in leakage the flow will go waste, ventilator will feel that patient is taking more. So that can hamper the whole process. The last thing is neurally adjusted ventilatory assist, what we call as NAVA. Again, it is there in Indian market for last 15 years, not very widely used. So just look at this graph or picture. What happens? The patient, the respiratory stimulus generates in where? In the respiratory system at the medulla. So if we can pick up that signal and ventilator can trigger as per that signal. That should be the ideal thing. There will be no delay, no increase of work of breathing to the patient, but that is not possible. These signals, they traverse through phrenic nerve to the diaphragm, and the moment this electrical potential goes to the diaphragm muscles are getting excited, and there is a generation of electrical potential in the diaphragm, and the muscle starts contracting. So at this level, NAVA, at the diaphragm excitation, NAVA picks up the signal of the diaphragm excitation, and it triggers the ventilator at here only. Whereas in a conventional ventilation, diaphragm contraction takes place, chest wall and lung expands, and at that time there is certain changes in the airway pressure, volume or flow, whatever it is your trigger has set, and then ventilator triggers. So this delay can be minimized by using the NAVA. So for NAVA, we put a Ryle's tube type thing in the esophagus, which has got certain transducers, electrical sensors at the level of diaphragm. So they catch the excitation of diaphragm, and then they give the signal to the amplifier unit, signal processing unit, and goes to the ventilator unit, and ventilator triggers. So how we set it, as you can see in this picture, this is the esophagus, this is the crus of diaphragm, and these are the sensors, electrical sensors. This tube can be used for feeding as well, and this graph is coming like this. So you have to match the ECG like graph in the center two lines to assess whether you are in the right place or not. So electrical activity of respiratory muscle used as input to the EADI. What is EADI? Electrical potential or electrical excitation of the diaphragm. It's in milliamperes. Cycling on and cycling off is determined by the excitation of diaphragm. So when diaphragm excites, cycle on, inspiration on. When diaphragm goes into the depolarization, the expiration takes place. Amount of assistance is given to EDI is user control or gain factor. Like you set a pressure support there, pressure support of 5, 10, you support a EDI level of 2, 3, 1, something like that. Ultimately, it's a pressure support. Synchrony between neural and mechanical inspiratory time is guaranteed, and it is having because synchrony is there, so patient is more comfortable. So finally, older modes and ventilators, they are passive, they are operator dependent tools. New modes or new generation ventilator, they are adaptively interactive, they are goal oriented, they are patient centered. But again, there are no studies which shows any mortality benefit. So what I say, it is always like a driving car. You can drive a Maruti like I am using WagonR.